Welcome. What you are about to watch is not science fiction, and it is not folklore. It is a serious investigation into one of history's most compelling unresolved questions: the mystery of Skinwalker Ranch, America's strangest property. Across the world, in universities, research institutes, and field excavations, serious scholars are wrestling with evidence that does not fit the accepted story. Evidence that has been documented, measured, and peer-reviewed, and that still has no satisfying conventional explanation. We are going to look at that evidence carefully, without prejudice in either direction, not dismissing what is extraordinary, but not accepting it without scrutiny either. The truth, as always, is in the details. On a 512-acre ranch in the Uinta Basin of northeastern Utah, something has been happening for decades that defies conventional explanation. The Sherman family, who purchased the property in 1994, began experiencing events that drove them off within 2 years. Cattle mutilations, poltergeist-like activity, equipment failures, crop circle formations, and most disturbingly, structured craft in the sky that performed maneuvers no aircraft can execute. The ranch attracted the attention of Robert Bigelow, a Las Vegas aerospace billionaire, who purchased it in 1996 and staffed it with scientists under National Institute for Discovery NCE, then the Defense Intelligence Agency's Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program ARTIP, took interest. Whatever is happening at Skinwalker Ranch has involved some of the most credible and well-funded investigators of anomalous phenomena in American history, and none of them have explained it. This is where our investigation begins. Stay with us, because the further we go into the evidence, the more extraordinary it becomes. The story you think you know is only the surface. Beneath it lies something far more remarkable. Let us begin. Before we examine the specific evidence, we need to step back and understand the context. This case does not exist in isolation. It sits within the landscape of modern documented mysteries, and to properly evaluate what we are looking at, we need to understand the broader picture that surrounds it. Human perception is fallible. This is not an insult, it is neuroscience. The brain does not passively record reality, it actively constructs it, filling gaps with expectation, inferring causes from insufficient data, and storing memories that are reshaped by subsequent experience. Eyewitness testimony is the weakest form of courtroom evidence precisely because what people see and what actually happened frequently diverge. Sound can cause visual hallucinations. Infrasound at specific frequencies can produce feelings of dread, the sensation of a presence, and even visual disturbances. Sleep deprivation, stress, and hypoxia can generate vivid experiences indistinguishable from waking reality. All of this is relevant when evaluating modern mysteries. Many apparently anomalous experiences have prosaic explanations rooted in human neurology, temporal lobe activity, hypnagogic hallucinations, shared social expectation shaping perception. A willingness to consider these explanations is not dismissiveness, it is intellectual hygiene. The brain is capable of generating extraordinarily convincing experiences that have no external cause, and yet, the perceptual explanation has its limits. It cannot account for physical evidence, radiation burns, landing traces, electromagnetic interference on electronic equipment, or anomalous readings on calibrated instruments. When multiple independent witnesses, separated by distance, report identical details, mass hallucination strains credulity. When physical measurements corroborate subjective experience, the neurological explanation is insufficient. These are the cases that demand another look. This context matters because it tells us something important. What we are about to investigate is not an isolated curiosity. It is part of a pattern that researchers in multiple fields have been independently documenting for decades. And patterns in science demand explanation. With that foundation in place, let us now turn to the specific case at hand. Now we reach the heart of the matter. The core evidence surrounding Skinwalker Ranch, America's strangest property, is more extensive, more verified, and more troubling for conventional explanations than most people realize. Let us walk through it systematically, fact by fact, and allow the evidence to speak for itself. We are not going to speculate here. Every point that follows is documented in peer-reviewed publications, official archaeological records, or government archives that are publicly accessible. The question is not whether these facts are real. The question is what they mean. Consider this first extraordinary detail. The Uinta Basin area where Skinwalker Ranch is located has a long history of anomalous reports. The Ute people, who have inhabited the region for centuries, regard the area as associated with the Skinwalker, a shape-shifting being from Navajo and Ute spiritual tradition. And some Ute elders have described a history of unusual phenomena in the basin predating modern settlement. This single data point, if taken in isolation, might be set aside. Anomalies happen, instruments malfunction, researchers make mistakes, but as we continue, you will see that this is not an isolated anomaly. It is part of a consistent and documented pattern. But that is only the beginning. Researchers also discovered the Sherman family, who purchased the ranch in 1994, having heard no reports of unusual activity, reported experiences including a large wolf that could not be harmed by gunfire, poltergeist phenomena inside the farmhouse, cattle found mutilated in ways inconsistent with animal predation, and structured aerial craft seen multiple times by multiple family members. Now, a skeptic might propose an alternative explanation for this, and that is entirely reasonable. We should always test alternative explanations before accepting extraordinary ones. The problem is that the alternative explanations, when examined carefully, create more problems than they solve. The mystery deepens when we examine. Robert Bigelow's National Institute for Discovery Science placed resident scientists on the property, who reported experiencing anomalous phenomena, including detecting an invisible predator by the circular impressions it left in vegetation, observing structured craft at close range, and recording unexplained magnetic anomalies and light phenomena. This is where the conventional account begins to strain. Each individual fact might be dismissed or minimized in isolation, but the cumulative weight of the evidence is another matter entirely. Perhaps most remarkable of all, Luis Elizondo, who directed Audip, has stated publicly that Skinwalker Ranch was one of the properties of interest to the Defense Intelligence Agency's investigation of UAP phenomena. The DIA's involvement lends some institutional credibility to the idea that something unusual is occurring at the site. Researchers who have examined this evidence have described it as genuinely difficult to explain within the accepted framework. These are not fringe commentators. They are credentialed academics publishing in mainstream journals, raising questions that the field has not yet satisfactorily answered. Then there is the matter of the property was purchased in 2016 by Brandon Fugel, a Utah real estate developer, who has allowed filming of the ongoing History Channel series The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch, which documents continued investigation and anomalous events. The series is not scientifically controlled and should be evaluated accordingly. What makes this particularly significant is its independence from the previous points. This is not a case of one theory requiring another. These are separate lines of evidence converging on the same uncomfortable conclusion. Adding to the enigma is this finding. Explanations proposed for Skinwalker Ranch phenomena range across the full spectrum. Atmospheric plasma phenomena specific to the Uinta Basin geology, natural underground methane and associated bioluminescence, classified government experimentation in the isolated area, and genuine UAP activity of unknown origin. Taken together, these facts form a pattern that cannot be explained by coincidence, misidentification, or methodological error. Each piece of evidence has been examined by skeptics. Each has been subjected to alternative explanations. And in each case, the alternative explanation falls short of accounting for everything that has been documented. We are left with a body of evidence that demands explanation and an accepted narrative that does not provide one. This is where serious inquiry begins. Now that we have established the evidence, we need to examine the theories that researchers have proposed to explain Skinwalker Ranch, America's strangest property. This is where the debate becomes most intense, because the theories reflect not just different interpretations of the same evidence, but fundamentally different assumptions about what is possible and what the past looked like. Understanding these theories is not just an academic exercise. Each one has been championed by serious researchers with genuine credentials, and each one captures something that the others miss. The truth, if it is ever established, will likely draw on elements of several. The first major explanation proposed by researchers holds that Skinwalker Ranch experiences genuine anomalous phenomena, aerial, physical, and biological, that are not fully explicable by any known natural or technological mechanism. The combination of multiple independent witnesses, instrumental anomalies, and physical effects suggests a real phenomenon of unknown nature. This interpretation has significant academic support and is backed by substantial evidence. But it is not without problems. Critics point out that it requires assumptions that go beyond what the evidence strictly supports, and that key predictions of this theory have not been confirmed by subsequent research. It remains contested, and the contest is productive. A rival school of thought argues that the phenomena at Skinwalker Ranch are the result of natural geological and atmospheric processes specific to the Uinta Basin, including piezoelectric effects from the area's faulted geology, natural plasma phenomena, and methane releases that could produce some of the reported effects. Psychological amplification in a suggestible context accounts for the rest. This theory is controversial, and deliberately so. Its proponents argue that the evidence demands an explanation outside the conventional framework. Critics counter that extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and that the evidence presented, while suggestive, does not yet meet that standard. The debate continues in peer-reviewed literature. Perhaps the most unconventional theory suggests that Skinwalker Ranch is the site of classified U.S. government experimentation in advanced propulsion, electromagnetic weapons, or related technologies, and the anomalous phenomena are the side effects or deliberate side products of that experimentation. The DIA involvement is evidence of continued interest in using the site for classified purposes. What is striking about this debate is not merely that experts disagree. That is normal and healthy in science. What is striking is the quality of the disagreement. Serious researchers, working from the same body of evidence, reaching genuinely different conclusions. That level of fundamental disagreement, when it persists over decades, is a signal that something important has not yet been understood. The question is not which of these theories is right. The question is whether any of them is right, or whether the truth is something that none of the current frameworks has yet been able to capture. The case surrounding Skinwalker Ranch, America's strangest property, does not rest on speculation alone. What distinguishes this investigation from pure mythology is the existence of documented, physical, verifiable evidence, material that has been examined by credentialed researchers and whose authenticity is not seriously disputed. What is disputed is its interpretation. Let us review the most significant documented evidence as objectively as possible. We are not going to cherry-pick the data that supports a preferred conclusion. We are going to lay out what exists and let you draw your own assessment. Physical evidence supporting this account includes the documentation of anomalous phenomena by multiple independent witness groups, the Sherman family, the NIDS team, and subsequent investigators over more than 25 years provides a body of testimony that is unusually consistent and comes from individuals with varied backgrounds and credibility. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Investigators have documented instrumental detections, magnetometer readings, radiation measurements, and photographic evidence documented by NIDS scientists, provide physical data supporting the reality of some anomalous events at the site. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. On-site analysis revealed the DIA's documented interest in Skinwalker Ranch, confirmed through Luis Elizondo's statements and partial document releases, provides institutional recognition that something at the site merited federal investigation. This evidence has been subjected to independent verification. Skeptics have examined it. Alternative explanations have been proposed and tested. The data remains. The question of what it means remains open. Each individual piece of evidence might, in principle, be explained away. A single anomalous artifact might be misidentified. A single anomalous date might reflect contamination. A single anomalous eyewitness account might reflect misperception. The question is whether all of the evidence can be explained away, and whether the explanations required are more or less plausible than the evidence itself. When multiple independent lines of inquiry converge on the same conclusion, that convergence is the most powerful signal in empirical science. And that is exactly what we are seeing here. We have examined the history, the evidence, and the theories surrounding Skinwalker Ranch, America's strangest property. Now we need to ask the question that is sometimes overlooked in discussions of ancient mysteries. Why does this matter? What does it mean for us today? It would be easy to file this away as an interesting historical curiosity, a puzzle from a distant past with no bearing on our present lives. That would be a fundamental mistake. The questions raised by this case touch on issues that are directly relevant to who we are, where we came from, and what the human story actually looks like before the period covered by conventional history. Skinwalker Ranch is now the most investigated private property in America. The ongoing History Channel investigation has attracted scientific consultants, including aerospace engineers and geologists. The U.S. government's renewed interest in UAP phenomena since 2017, including the establishment of a UAP task force and subsequent All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, has made the investigation of sites like Skinwalker Ranch more politically and institutionally viable than at any previous time. What is occurring there remains unexplained. Furthermore, the tools available to investigate these questions are advancing rapidly. Satellite imaging, ground-penetrating radar, ancient DNA analysis, isotopic tracing, and deep-sea sonar are all providing capabilities that previous generations of researchers could only dream of. Cases that were genuinely unresolvable 10 years ago are now open to new analysis, and the findings, consistently, are expanding rather than contracting the mystery. The investigation continues. New discoveries are being made. New analyses are being published. New voices are entering the conversation from disciplines that were not previously part of the discussion. The answers, when they come, and they will come, will not merely solve a historical puzzle. They will force a fundamental revision of assumptions that underpin our entire understanding of human history and human potential. We have now walked through the complete case of Skinwalker Ranch, America's strangest property, from the historical record through the physical evidence, across the competing theories, and into the modern significance of what remains unresolved. What the story of Skinwalker Ranch ultimately reveals is not just a historical puzzle. It is a mirror. It reflects our assumptions back at us, our assumptions about what ancient people were capable of, about how knowledge is gained and lost across the centuries, and about the relationship between what we know and what we merely think we know. The evidence presented in this documentary is real. The questions it raises are genuine. The debate among researchers is ongoing, and that is healthy. Science is not a set of conclusions. It is a process. And the process requires that we remain open to evidence that challenges what we thought we knew, however uncomfortable that challenge might be. If you came to this documentary as a skeptic, we hope the evidence gave you something to think about. If you came as a true believer, we hope the critical examination gave you a more nuanced picture. The truth, as always, lies in the evidence, not in what we want to be true. Thank you for watching. If this investigation sparked your curiosity, Please subscribe to the channel. We publish new documentaries every week, covering the full range of historical mysteries that the mainstream has not yet adequately explained. Leave a comment below telling us which case you want us to investigate next. The conversation continues. The investigation never ends.